Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive. We are going to be talking all about babies today. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on the 3 to 4 month old range. So if you are a first-time mom and you're going through all of this crazy information, that's what we're here for, to give you a little bit of a shortcut.
Yes, exactly. So this deep dive is really for first-time moms trying to figure out what's going on with their little ones. And we've got some really cool sources we dug into that we think you'll find interesting. We've looked at some developmental milestones, sleep schedules, general baby care, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so just think of this as us helping you take all that information and giving you the most interesting parts of it all. So let's just jump right into it.
Okay, let's do it.
I think a really cool place to start is thinking about, like, your baby's emotions.
Yeah.
Because, like, around 3 to 4 months, they're really starting to learn about emotions and communication.
Yeah, and you know what's so cool at this age is that they're actually starting to understand, like, the connection between the words that you speak and the expressions on your face.
Yeah, I was reading about that. And that's really cool how they kind of start to understand that, like, oh, when mom or dad says, yay, with a big smile, they're starting to, like, link those two things together.
Yeah.
And really, like, I don't know, decode our emotional language.
And also what's really neat is that they really start to recognize the sound of your voice. You might notice them turning their head when you speak. That's a really powerful connection, and it's a sign of that strengthening bond between you.
And it's not just about, like, us communicating to them, but they're also starting to really express, like, a wider range of their own emotions. I mean, those giggles are amazing when they just start giggling.
Oh my gosh, the best.
It's like the best sound in the world.
And they start smiling when they see something they like. It's just,
Okay.
yeah, it's like this whole new level of interaction that's just opening up.
Yeah. And I love, I think it's around this time that you hear new sounds too. Like you'll hear those cute agu noises,
Oh my gosh, yes.
which is just, it's like they're experimenting with sounds.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
they're little scientists.
And it's, it's really cute too, is it's almost like they start to have these, like, little baby conversations with you. I mean, they're not saying words, but they will coo and babble, and almost like respond to you talking to them.
Yeah, and I think what's happening is that they're listening to the rhythms and the sounds of your speech, and then they're kind of trying to have a conversation back with you,
Yeah.
which is so cool to think about.
So sweet. So cute. And then, okay, so, like, on top of all that, they're also, you know, developing physically a lot during this time. And I know that this is a big thing that a lot of parents will do tummy time with their baby. And there's actually a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah, so if you're doing tummy time with your baby at this age,
Mhm.
you might notice them starting to lift their head up really high,
Yeah.
like really high, and even pushing up onto their forearms or hands.
And you don't think about it, but that's like they need to build up those muscles in order to crawl.
Just
Like
that.
all of that, that is what's helping them eventually learn to crawl.
Yeah, it's like they're training their little boot camp for crawling.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but there is a little bit of a heads up that comes with all that new strength and that new ability.
Okay, tell me, what is it?
Well, rolling. So they might start rolling,
Mhm.
which is really fun and exciting. But also you got to watch them because they certainly can reach a lot further than they used to be able to.
Yes, you've got to be so vigilant. You know, before they were kind of stuck in one spot, but now all of a sudden they can move, they can grab things.
It's like they have a whole new, like, world of things they can get into now.
Exactly, and they're so curious at this age. So I'm like, what is this? I can grab this now. Oh my gosh, it's going in my mouth.
That's the next thing I was going to say. Their hands are getting so much more coordinated, and they're starting to grab things and hold them. And what do? They put them right in their mouth.
Of course, yeah.
Everything goes in the mouth.
It's like, yeah, their way of exploring. And, you know, around 4 months, too, a lot of babies will be able to, like, hold their head really steady without any support, which is so exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, look at you. You're a big kid now.
Yeah, I know. It happens so fast.
And they might even start rolling from their tummy to their back.
So now that they have this, like, awareness of the world and they're exploring their surroundings, what are some things that we can do with them?
Well, it's a really great time to engage them in, like, sensory activities.
Yeah, like what? Give us some ideas.
Okay, so, like, object exploration. You know, give them toys with all different kinds of shapes and textures.
Yeah.
Like, have a soft plush toy and then, like, a textured rubber toy, just so they can really explore how things feel.
And that helps them understand their body in space.
Exactly, and how much force to use. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when they're grabbing and playing with things.
Yeah.
Another really good one is shaking rattles.
Oh, yeah. Cause and effect.
Yeah, so they learn, like, oh, if I shake this, it makes a noise. which is like a big deal for
It's a
them.
big deal, yeah.
It is.
You can blow bubbles with them.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Yeah, and you can do some supported rolling practice. So as they're working on rolling, you can, hold a toy just out of their reach and encourage them to move.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. And it's never too early to start reading to them.
Never too early. It exposes them to language, the rhythms and sounds of language. And those illustrations in books?
So stimulating,
Yeah,
even if they don't get it yet.
totally. And the other thing is use lots of expression when you're reading. Make
Yeah.
it fun.
Yes.
And then music and movement are so good for them too.
Like what kind of stuff?
Like, you can do some gentle swaying, some bouncing to the rhythm of music,
Yeah.
anything to get them moving and grooving.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about tummy time. We've got to keep encouraging that because it's just so good for strengthening those muscles. It's so important. Okay, let's talk about sleep. This is a big one for new parents. And I feel like when you get to about the 4-month mark, everyone's talking about the 4-month sleep regression.
Yes. It can sound really scary.
What's happening with their sleep at this point?
Well, it's not really a regression. It's actually a sign that their brain is developing.
Okay.
So around 4 months, their circadian rhythm is maturing. So their internal clock is getting better.
Okay.
And their sleep cycles are becoming more organized. They're starting to look more like adult sleep cycles with light sleep and deep sleep.
Okay, so it's not like they're going backwards in their sleep. It's just that it's changing. It's shifting.
Exactly.
So why is this so hard on parents?
Well, because with these more organized sleep cycles, it can lead to more awakenings during the night.
I see.
And if your baby has gotten used to like certain things to fall asleep, like rocking, feeding, or holding, they might need you to do those things every time they wake up because they haven't learned to fall back asleep on their own yet.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what's like a typical amount of sleep for a baby at 4 months old?
So a 4-month-old usually needs about 14 to 15 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. And this is usually split up into like 10 to 12 hours at night and then 3 to 5 hours during the day with maybe 3 or 4 naps.
Okay,
But every baby's different.
of course.
So it's important to kind of look at their mood, their energy levels when they're awake, and just like their overall development to see if they're getting enough sleep.
Yeah. So can you give us like an example of what a 4-nap schedule would look like at this age?
Sure. So let's say your baby wakes up around 6:30 or 7 in the morning.
Okay.
Their first nap might be about 1.5 to 2 hours after waking up. So maybe around 8:30 or 9:00.
Okay.
And then you would just follow like similar wake windows for the rest of the day. So about 1.5 to 2.5 hours between naps. So that would be a second nap like mid-morning, a third nap in the early afternoon, and then maybe like a shorter nap in the late afternoon.
And then bedtime.
And then, yeah, bedtime would probably be somewhere between 6:03 and 8:00 p.m. But again, this is just an example.
Yeah.
And you've got to kind of adjust it to what your baby needs.
Right. And like what about like nap lengths? Because I feel like that's something a lot of new moms get frustrated with. Is they're like, my baby's only taking 30-minute naps. Is that normal?
Yeah, 30 to 45-minute naps are actually pretty common at this age.
Okay.
But you might notice that their first nap of the day starts to get a little bit longer.
Okay.
But it's usually a good idea to try to keep individual naps under 2 hours,
Yeah.
just so that they're getting enough sleep at night.
Right. So I've heard that an earlier bedtime can be helpful for babies around this age.
It can be. So, putting them to bed somewhere between 6 and 8 can actually help them sleep better overall and maybe even have fewer wakings during the night.
So it's kind of counterintuitive. Like you think if they stay up later, they'll sleep later, but that's not how it works.
No, it's like the more rested they are, the better they sleep.
I see. Now, everyone talks about sleep training.
Mm.
And I know that this is a big topic for first-time moms, and it can be a little intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
So what is it like? What exactly is sleep training?
So sleep training is basically a bunch of different ways that you can help your baby learn to fall asleep on their own and then fall back asleep if they wake up during the night.
Okay.
And since their sleep is maturing so much around 4 months, it can be a good time to start thinking about gentle sleep training approaches.
Mhm.
But it's a personal decision and there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Eh.
Okay. And then lastly, as far as sleep goes, like what are the key safe sleep things that moms should know?
Hmm.
Especially since babies are starting to roll over a lot more at this age.
Yeah, so, the main thing is still to put your baby on their back to sleep for all naps and nighttime sleep.
Mhm.
But if your baby is rolling from their back to their tummy and back again on their own, then you don't have to keep repositioning them if they roll onto their tummy during sleep.
So once they can really reliably roll both ways, you're good.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to teething. Most people think of teething as something that happens later on, but can it actually start earlier?
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the average age for a baby to get their first tooth is between 4 and 7 months, but some babies can actually start teething as early as 3 months.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're teething that early, what are some signs that first-time moms can look for?
Okay, so one of the biggest signs is drool, like a lot of drool. And sometimes this can even cause a rash on their chin or neck or chest.
Oh,
Yeah. They might be more fussy or irritable.
okay.
And their gums might be swollen or tender.
Yeah,
And some babies, their appetite goes down a little bit because it hurts to suck when their gums are sore.
I see.
And sometimes they might have a little bit of a fever. But if you're ever worried about a fever, definitely call your doctor, especially with a baby this young.
Yeah.
Um, and, a teething fever is usually pretty low grade, so under 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. So, what are some ways that we can help soothe a teething baby? So, there are some things you can give them to chew on that will help,
Yeah.
like a cool, wet washcloth or a teething ring.
Hmm.
But make sure you chill the teething ring in the fridge, not the freezer, because you don't want it to be too hard.
Right.
And if your baby can't hold things very well yet, you can get those teething mittens that they can just kind of like gnaw on.
Oh, yeah.
And some babies like it when you rub their gums gently with a clean finger.
Yeah. Okay. And what if you're breastfeeding and your baby starts teething? I feel like that could be really difficult.
It definitely can be. So if your baby bites you while you're breastfeeding, it's important to unlatch them calmly and say no firmly, and then take a little break from nursing.
No.
If you do this consistently, they'll eventually learn that biting means that they don't get to eat.
Makes sense.
And making sure that they have a good latch can help to prevent biting too.
Yeah.
But if you're having like a lot of problems with biting, you can always talk to a lactation consultant for some extra help.
All right. So let's talk about introducing solid foods, which is a big milestone that's coming up.
Yeah.
When do most babies start eating solid foods?
So most experts recommend waiting until your baby's around 6 months old to start solids.
Okay.
But it's not just about age. It's also about looking for signs that your baby is developmentally ready.
Okay. So what are some of those signs?
Well, one of the biggest signs is that their tongue thrust reflex has disappeared or lessened.
Mm-hmm.
This usually happens between 4 and 6 months.
Okay.
And that reflex is what makes them push food out of their mouths with their tongue.
Right.
So once that's gone, it's a good sign they're ready to start swallowing food.
Yeah, makes sense.
They should also have good head and neck control and be able to sit up with support. And they should be interested in food.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're watching you eat and reaching for your food, or they're opening their mouth when they see a spoon coming towards them.
They're ready.
Yeah.
So once you've talked to your doctor and they say it's okay, what are some good first foods to start with?
So usually a good first food is like an iron-fortified baby cereal, like rice cereal.
Okay.
You can mix it with breast milk or formula to make it nice and thin.
Yeah.
And you want to start slow, like maybe just offer them a half a teaspoon once or twice a day.
And just see how they do.
Yeah. It's really important to introduce one new food at a time and wait a few days before trying a different food.
Okay, that makes sense. So you can kind of tell if they're having a reaction to something.
Yeah.
What about allergies? Because I know that a lot of parents worry about that. Like, when do you start introducing common allergen foods?
So actually, you don't have to wait to introduce common allergens anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Experts now recommend introducing foods like peanuts, eggs, cow's milk, seafood, nuts, wheat, and soy early on, like between 6 and 12 months old.
Wow.
And it's best to talk to your doctor about the best way to do this, especially if you have a family history of allergies.
Okay. Are there any foods that are, like, completely off limits at this age?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So definitely no honey until after their first birthday.
Okay.
And you want to avoid any foods with added sugars or high sodium. And no unpasteurized dairy products or juices.
Mm-hmm.
And don't give them regular cow's milk or soy milk as their main drink until after 12 months.
Gotcha.
And of course, nothing that can be a choking hazard. So like pole grapes, hot dogs, nuts, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just being a first-time mom, I feel like is so overwhelming sometimes because it's just constant change or constant new information. What advice would you give to moms who are like feeling really overwhelmed right now?
Oh gosh, I think the biggest thing is to just remember that you're learning. This
Yeah,
is all new.
it is.
And it's okay to ask for help. Ask your partner, your family, your friends, your doctor, anyone.
Yeah,
Like, nobody expects you to know everything, and it's actually a strength to ask for help.
totally.
And then the other thing is self-care. It's so important to take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. When you're feeling good, you're a better mom. So don't be afraid to reach out for help if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
And it's also so easy to get caught up in like the schedules and the milestones and all that. But sometimes you just have to remember to just play with your baby.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you want to have fun.
Yeah.
So, sing songs, read books, do tummy time together, make silly faces, like just interact with them
Yeah.
and smile at them, make eye contact. All of that is so good for their development, and it really helps them feel loved and secure.
It's such a special time.
It
And it
is.
goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And then another important thing to remember is to like establish a routine.
Yes. Babies thrive on routine. It helps them feel safe and secure.
And also, with all that rolling and moving around,
Yeah.
make sure your house is baby-proofed.
Yes. Safety first. And one last thing, and this is super important, never ever shake a baby.
Yeah, never shake a baby.
If you are feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, whatever it is, it's okay to put your baby down in a safe place, like their crib, and walk away for a few minutes to calm down. There is always help available if you are struggling to cope.
Okay, so if we're approaching that 4-month mark, what are some things that we should call the doctor about?
Okay, so always trust your instincts as a mom.
Yes.
You know your baby better than anyone, so if you are worried about something, don't hesitate to call your doctor or child health nurse.
Yeah.
So some things that you might want to call about are if your baby's crying excessively and you can't soothe them, if they're not making eye contact or they don't seem interested in faces, if their eyes are crossing a lot and they're not following objects with their eyes, or if they're not making any sounds or responding to loud noises.
Okay.
And if you are worried about their development, like if they're not holding their head up steady or if they're not trying to roll over, talk to your doctor about that too.
Okay, so just generally, like, if you're concerned at all, just go ahead and call.
Yeah, it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Totally. Well, this has been a really great deep dive. So to recap, in these first few months, babies are developing so much, like their emotions, their communication, their physical abilities, and their sleep is going through a lot of changes too.
It's such a fascinating time.
So to all the first-time moms out there, remember, every baby develops at their own pace. And this is just a guide, not a rule book.
Exactly.
So just try to relax, enjoy this special time with your baby, and trust your instincts.
Yeah, and as you're going through all of this, you might start to wonder about specific things like what are the different sleep training methods out there? Or what are some fun activities I can do with my baby to help them develop their motor skills? Those are some things you can explore further as your baby continues to grow.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this was helpful and that you feel a little bit more prepared for this amazing journey of motherhood.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.